Picture this. It's Christmas Eve. Snow drifts gently from the sky, cloaking the world in white. Laughter echoes through the house. Then, without warning, your wife rises from her seat, places divorce papers squarely on the table, and your entire family applauds. But here's the twist. You're not surprised. Not even a little. You've seen this coming. For months, you've watched her spin lies, sneak around, and play her part in secret betrayals. Tonight, though, you're prepared. When she hands you those documents with a smug little smile, you don't flinch. You don't plead. You simply return the smile and say one word. Perfect. Because beneath the tree, hidden between the glittering gifts, lies your gift to her. A video, a confession, and a takedown so devastating it'll crush her pride to pieces. This isn't just a tale of heartbreak. It's a story about vengeance. And believe me, you've never witnessed an ending quite like this. Before we dive back in, let us know where you're watching from. And if this story hits home, don't forget to subscribe, because tomorrow's reveal is something you won't want to miss. Snow had been falling since early morning, thick, steady, and silent, wrapping everything in a blanket of white so soft it felt almost holy. By nightfall, the entire neighborhood had transformed into something out of a postcard. Houses glowing with fairy lights, rooftops dusted in frost, smoke curling lazily from chimneys, and the rhythmic crunch of boots as last-minute shoppers rushed through the snow. Inside, our home was a cocoon of warmth. The scent of fresh pine from the Christmas tree filled the air, mingling with the spiced steam from mulled wine bubbling on the stove and the buttery sweetness of just-baked shortbread. The fireplace crackled cheerfully, its golden glow flickering across the faces of our gathered family. Karen glided through the room like the hostess of a glossy magazine spread. Her laughter flowed like champagne, light and practiced, as she topped off drinks and fluffed cushions. She wore a crimson dress that clung to her like it was tailored just for her, dark hair cascading in elegant waves over her shoulders. To the casual observer, she was flawless, poised, charming, and completely in command. But I'd learned to look past the illusion. There was a tension behind her eyes now, a sharpness in her smile when she thought no one noticed. I sat back in my favorite armchair, a glass of whiskey in hand, watching it all play out like a scene in a well-rehearsed play. My brother Mark was midway through an exaggerated story about some mishap at work, flailing his arms like a madman while Karen's parents laughed dutifully. Her sister Lydia, clearly bored, kept glancing at her phone, probably feeding someone the latest family drama in real time. On the floor, our nieces and nephews buzzed with energy, already wired from too many cookies. They gathered around the Christmas tree, their voices climbing with excitement as they tried to guess what was hidden behind the shiny wrapping paper and bows. It all felt so routine, so painfully, convincingly ordinary. Then Karen stood up. But this wasn't some casual rise from her seat. She placed her wine glass down with deliberate precision, her fingers resting on the stem a moment longer than necessary. No one in the room noticed. Not right away. Mark was still deep into his story. Lydia's fingers danced across her phone screen. But I saw. I always saw. She moved to the sideboard, the one where we usually stashed extra napkins and coasters, and pulled open a drawer. From inside, she retrieved a manila envelope. A quiet tension gripped my gut, but I kept my expression neutral. I'd been expecting this. Maybe not the exact timing, but the outcome had been written on the wall for months. I have something to say, Karen announced, her voice cutting cleanly through the buzz of conversation. Mark stopped mid-word, blinking in confusion. Lydia finally looked up from her screen. Even the kids seemed to sense the shift in the room's energy and fell silent. Karen raised the envelope like she was unveiling a trophy. "I'm leaving him," she said. Time stood still. Then, as if rehearsed, her father burst out laughing, loud and approving. Her mother clapped with joy, eyes gleaming. Lydia gasped before squealing, "Oh my God, it's about time!" Even Mark, my own brother, nodded in apparent relief, like this was some long-awaited liberation. Only the children looked bewildered, glancing around in confusion, trying to understand what had just happened. And me. I didn't budge. I didn't flinch. I brought the whiskey glass to my lips and took a slow drink, letting the warmth settle deep in my chest. Karen looked at me, her eyes searching for pain, anger, desperation. But she wouldn't find any of that. Instead, I gave her a subtle smile, small, controlled, and unexpected enough to make her blink. Then I gently set my glass down and said calmly, "Couldn't have timed it better." A beat of silence. I motioned toward the Christmas tree. "Go ahead, everyone. Open your gifts." A ripple of uncertainty swept through the room. Karen's victorious smirk began to falter. But curiosity proved stronger than confusion. The kids dove into the pile of presents with squeals of delight, ripping through wrapping paper. The adults, hesitant at first, followed suit, drawn in by the temptation of glossy packaging and the promise of surprises. From my chair, I watched as each one unwrapped their carefully selected gifts: designer watches, high-end handbags, rare spirits, all hand-picked and wrapped with precision. Karen hesitated. Her fingers hovered over the remaining packages. She kept glancing at me, like she expected some unseen wire to trip. Then her gaze landed on it, the final gift. Wrapped in matte black paper, tied with a single silver ribbon. No tag. She picked it up, turning it over in her hands. "What's this?" she asked. I didn't respond. I only tilted my head slightly and waited. With a skeptical shrug, she tore it open. And then she stopped. Inside was a simple USB drive. She stared at it, expression unreadable. Then she forced a laugh and held it up for everyone to see. "Seriously? A flash drive? What is this, our wedding slideshow as a goodbye present?" "Go ahead," I said softly. "Play it." The television was already on, paused on a holiday film no one had been paying attention to. Karen hesitated, then walked to the TV and plugged in the drive. The screen flickered. The footage began. A familiar restaurant appeared, our favorite Italian place, where we used to celebrate anniversaries. The camera panned slightly to reveal her, sitting at a corner table, her back to the lens. Opposite her, a man leaned in close, hand resting over hers. Daniel, her personal trainer. The video cut to a new scene, a hotel lobby. Karen and Daniel checking in. Then another, a dimly lit bar. They sat closely, heads almost touching, his fingers sliding over her thigh under the table. Silence consumed the room. The footage kept playing. Now emails. Their messages on screen, mocking me, laughing about how clueless I'd been. Then bank transfers. Money moved from our joint account to one newly opened in her name. Flight confirmations. A villa booking in Bali. Karen's face drained of color. The final clip played.